We have extremely great news about the 49ers next. What's up? Welcome to Cohn and Krueger. That's Larry Krueger. I'm Grant Cohn. OTAs are back this week. We have a practice on Wednesday, and we have interviews with the position coaches tomorrow. Today's show is sponsored by Factor. Summer is here, more sun, more light, more time to do all the things that make summer so special. And the number one thing you don't want to be doing all summer, spending hours cooking inside. That's where Factor comes in. Factor's chef-crafted, dietitian-approved meals are ready in just 2 minutes, taking all the hassle out of eating well. I use this, and so should you. Get started at factormeals.com/Cohn50off and use code Cohn50off to get 50% off plus free shipping on your first box. That's code Cohn50off at factormeals.com/code Cohn50off for 50% off plus free shipping. Factormeals.com/Cohn50off. Larry, we haven't talked since Bryce Huff got traded to the Niners, but that's not the great news. There is incredible news. It is June 2nd, 2025, and Trent Williams is still on the 49ers. I didn't know if this would happen. He hasn't retired. He hasn't gotten traded. This is great. This seems like he might actually play for the 49ers this year. How do you feel about that?
Well, it's funny because I read something the other day about maybe him being traded to the Texans, and I'll say this. I saw the video of him in Houston at the gym, and he just didn't look like he's worked out at all. I mean, he has a gigantic boiler. He just doesn't look like he's worked out at all. I mean, he's the greatest tackle of his generation, but I don't know what he's done this offseason, but I mean, he just didn't look like he owns a gym, and supposedly he works out really hard in that gym, but he looked like a guy, just looked like a guy with a boiler. He didn't seem like he was in anything approaching training camp condition.
No, he kind of seems like a guy who's lost his fire to play football, but he's the best and he can still make a lot of money. And the Niners are probably begging him to play. And he's like, I don't think he just seems like a guy who hasn't made up his mind yet. When I see him with my own two eyes, I'll believe it. But you're right. That clip that surfaced last week really showed a guy who hasn't seemingly done much work. But then again, I don't think he did much work last off season either. And maybe that's not a great thing anymore at 37 years old. I mean, he's not so great in the fourth quarter. He doesn't play 17 games anymore. He's kind of a mercenary for a team that's right on the cusp of winning a Super Bowl. If he's the best fit for the 49ers. That being said, you don't want Spencer Burford protecting Brock Purdy's blindside, so what are their choices?
This is like the Achilles heel of the team. It really is. I mean, you have the best left tackle in the game, but he's 37, coming off a season where he didn't play very much. And not only is he your best player, his backup is somebody named Andre Dillard, who didn't even show up at minicamp the other day or at OTAs the other day, and I don't know where he was. I'll say this.
Extension. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, Nicholas Petit Frere is Nicholas Petit Impact. I mean, that guy is not going to make the team. I can literally tell you that from watching one off-season practice. That's how knowledgeable I am. I'm joking, of course, but I mean, this guy looked horrible. I don't think I've ever seen anybody look as bad as Nicholas Petit Frere looked in this last minicamp. He was limping his way back to the huddle after every rep. He doesn't look like he's healthy. He's got no strength, no anchor ability. He's a tall guy with long arms, but I mean, he has no chance to beat out Austin Pleasance. I thought Austin Pleasance looked really good, but it was supposed to be DJ Humphries, Andre Dillard, Nicholas Petit Frere, Austin Pleasance, and now DJ Humphries' deal fell apart. Dillard didn't show up at minicamp. Petit Frere looked horrible. Trust me when I say that. So it looks like Austin Pleasance may have a pretty good route to a position right now. So I mean, I would say offensive tackle is easily the biggest concern going into the year, because Trent is old and coming off a bad year. McKivitz is a replacement level, and their third tackle, is not going to be much of a competition because the rest of those guys outside of Pleasance don't look very good at all.
It's interesting that the Niners invested and gave the big stamp of approval to Purdy after a 6-11 season. So to me, that says they don't blame Purdy for the season. If someone's getting blamed for it, it's Kyle. And if Purdy has another down season where he doesn't make the playoffs or his numbers aren't great, it'll be so easy to again point the finger at Kyle and be like, what is this offensive line that you're giving Brock Purdy? How can we really assess Brock until you've given him the type of situation that the Lions have given Jared Goff? Or that the Bears are trying to give Caleb Williams. So this is a very dangerous position for Kyle because if he gets hurt, if he gets sacked a lot, it's on Kyle. It's not on Brock. It's on Lynch too.
Well, yeah, absolutely. I mean, at this point, you're going to have a $265 million quarterback, and you're going to have basically it's like having a brand new mansion in Pacific Heights, and you just don't want to have a front door and you don't want to have a security system. Well, it's like, okay, I mean, you got a beautiful mansion, but with no front door and no security system, it's just a matter of time before, somebody's walking through that front door that's wide open. And it's same thing with the Niners. I mean, you have Brock behind Trent Williams and Colton McKivitz. You're a Trent Williams quad injury, and Colton McKivitz, suddenly pulls a hammy, and you're staring at Andre Dillard and Austin Pleasance protecting your franchise quarterback. So I mean, they acted in the draft like they just kind of sort of needed some offensive linemen, and if they didn't find guys that they liked, well, then we're just not going to take them. Where Philly, by comparison, has Jordan Mailata, future Hall of Famer at left tackle, Lane Johnson, future Hall of Famer at right tackle, and they still drafted Cameron Williams out of Texas, Miles Hinton out of Michigan, traded for Kenyon Green, drafted Drew Kendall. I mean, they drafted 3 offensive linemen and brought in 3 veterans, and they have 2 Hall of Fame offensive tackles in a really good line. So, there's an old saying that you get in the draft and in the offseason what you value. And the Niners value defensive linemen, and they got defensive linemen. And the Niners don't value offensive linemen, and they didn't get any offensive linemen until late day 3.
The reason I thought about this topic is because there's been a couple of high-profile retirements today. Frank Ragnow, Ronald Darby retired coincidentally on June 2nd. It kind of feels like they went to their team and said, hey, I don't want to play football anymore. And their team were like, hey, could you just do us a favor and not say anything until June 2nd? Because that would sort of help out our accounting and our salary cap. And so that's sort of what I've been wondering with Trent, since we haven't heard from him, haven't seen him. If something weird is going to happen, I think we would know today. Although I don't know that Trent went to them and said, I don't want to play anymore. I feel like this is the kind of the dance you have to do with Trent every offseason. You have to almost like recruit him like he's 18. Like, hey, why don't you come play football with us? It'll be great. Come on.
Well, I just think also he knows where he's at. He knows that he can call his shots. He can practice when he wants to. He can absolutely expend as much energy as he wants to. And Shanahan will always be in his corner. And the Niners are somewhat desperate. I get the vibe a couple of years ago, or about a year ago, where Trent was like, I was thinking about retirement, and now it's like he didn't say it directly, but it was almost like, I'm going to see how much money I can steal. I mean, and I don't want to, I'm not trying to say anything nefarious. It's like, let me just see how much money I can make in my twilight years. Because he's making north of $20 million every year.
Right. It's like my heart's not really into it, but like my heart doesn't have to be in it for me to make a bunch of money. He has more leverage than Brock. He has more leverage than any football player I can remember. I mean, hey, I don't want to be at training camp. Hey, I don't want to practice. They're like, fine. Will you play left tackle for us, though? Will you just play left tackle for us? Sure, maybe. We'll see how I feel. Brock couldn't do that. No one else could do it. I mean, I guess he's the Barry Bonds of the 49ers. Like, what are your options? What else are you going to do? Just be grateful that you have him?
On one hand, I push back on the people who be like, he missed X number of games, because and I know that if those games mattered, he probably would have been out there. Yeah, he would have been out there. So I can't get all exercised about he missed X number of games, because Trent Williams is not playing meaningless games. He's not playing meaningless games in August, and he's not playing meaningless games in November, December. He's never again going to play meaningless games. If the Niners, for whatever reason, fall out of the playoff hunt and with their easy schedule, I don't know how they would do that, but if they did, he won't play. From the point they're done, he's done. He's not going to play in any non-meaningful games ever again. That's kind of how I see Trent. But I do think he's going to try to gut it out this year and maybe even next year. I would not.
Yeah,
be
he's got a lot more money
plays.
to make on his contract. To your point,
Yeah.
He's not walking away from that.
No, he's not going to walk away from it, and nor why would you when you can call your shots as far as your workload.
That's why I didn't think he was going to retire. I thought he might say, hey, I don't want to play for your team anymore. But what a chutzpah that would be. I don't know if you know what that word means. What a nerve that would be after getting the extension last year. Like, hey, I know you guys just gave me another extension, but like, you guys aren't that good anymore. And I want to play for the Texans because I like CJ Stroud and D'Amico. So work that out for me. That'd be, I feel like I could see the Niners being like, hey, Trent, no, absolutely not.
Yeah. Part of their kind of like, I don't want to say their belief in themselves, but I mean, the fact that Trent is not asking out is part of the reason that, people feel good about the 49ers as a playoff team. If they do, is because they feel like Trent
believes in him.
Yeah. If Trent believes and he doesn't want out, then they must be, representative enough of a team roster wise for him to want to stick around.
It's true. Shady Luke says those young pass rushers have been good against Trent the past couple years. Yeah, Jared Verse is tough. New young pass rusher on the 49ers, Bryce Huff. We haven't spoken since the Niners pulled off this trade. I mean, looked at it one way, this could be the Niners' biggest move of the offseason in terms of instant impact. Do you think this is like the move that puts the Niners over the top? Like, does it change your win-loss total projection for them? Like, what does this do for them?
Well, first of all, I think it does a lot. I do. I'm not of a belief. It's easy to be like, well, it doesn't mean much. I think it means a lot. Why? Because look at the 49ers on the back end of their defense. Lenore is like the veteran. He was a 2021 draft choice. Renardo Green's really young. Malik Mustafa's really young. Jair Brown's really young. Luter's really young. Upton Stout's really young. Marquise Siegel. These guys are rookies. So it's a very young secondary. Even the free agents they signed, Richie Grant, Jason Pinnock are relatively young. It's a young secondary. So, yeah, I mean, if you can, any young secondary is going to be helped out if you can speed up the quarterback, move him off his spot, make him throw it when he doesn't want to throw it, where he doesn't want to throw it. So I definitely think this helps the secondary. I also think this really helps Jordan Elliott or Alfred Collins and C.J. West and Jordan Elliott and Givens and all their interior players, because now Bosa and Huff, I think both command doubles, which means that Collins and West and the inside guys probably command singles. And then the question is this. There's two thoughts on this. One of them is, hey, the Niners just had minicamp and they saw that Mikael Williams is really raw as a pass rusher, and that's why Huff's here. There's that thinking, and I understand why people would say that. I actually think it's different than that.
Crossed my mind.
What's that?
The thought crossed my mind. Like, I didn't see him and think that, but I'm like, ooh, I wonder if this had anything to do with them seeing him up front. I wonder.
Yeah, exactly. Like, did they see that Mikael couldn't do it and say, oh, shit, we got to get somebody else?
Or he really is better rushing from the interior or whatever right now.
So, I got a couple friends down there, and I put in a couple phone calls this week and just said, hey, do you think it's more this or more that? And I was told that they drafted Mikael knowing they had a very good shot at Huff. And that actually makes the Mikael pick, to me, make more sense, Grant, because Mikael Williams is not going to step in and get 12 sacks as an edge rusher like a Mike Green or Pierce or some of those other guys. But he is big and strong and can play inside in that NASCAR package. And now that's what I think that's what you're going to see. I think on third downs, you're going to see Bosa and Huff off the edges, and you're going to see Mikael inside, probably with Givens, but it could be any number
or
of guys.
YGM.
But, yeah, I mean, inside, rushing the passer.
Givens.
So in the NASCAR package. So I kind of think that I like the Mikael Williams pick more now that there's Huff, because now you do need, like I said it to you and we talked about it. I thought the Niners needed a couple defensive tackles. I thought they needed a couple defensive ends, and I thought they needed kind of like one kind of wild card rusher. And Williams, is can be that wild card rusher because he can play inside and outside. So I think it's a good move. And also it's not about, this guy doesn't have it. He wasn't a great 3-4 outside linebacker. He likes to put one hand in the dirt, sometimes two hands in the dirt, and he's much more of a get off the ball, get upfield, rush the passer. He's not a run defender. He is a pass rusher. So I personally, I think it's a great move because you got to have pass rush or you can't move the quarterback. So I like this guy off the edge. And I think he's going to really help both their inside guys and their secondary.
Yeah, when the Niners went all in the draft to improve their run defense more than anything else, with like each of their first 5 picks were with an eye toward run defense. That's really what all of those players do best, even Upton Stout. I completely understood that it was a weakness of the team last year, and that's kind of where NFL offenses are going. That's the evolution with these 2 high safety defenses. But pass rush still matters, and the Niners pass rush wasn't great either last year. It's really been Nick Bosa against the world for the last couple of years. And so I'm with you. I feel like they needed to address this at some point, whether it was Bryce Huff or Von Miller or Jadeveon Clowney. They had the cap space. It makes sense that they would bring in someone that Robert Saleh is familiar with. I think Eagles fans are saying like, good luck. And some people are looking like, man, it's a 1-year wonder. But on a defensive line with Nick Bosa and Mykel Williams, he's probably going to get a lot of one-on-one matchups. And if you put him in a wide 9 alignment, it seems like he's had a lot of success in that particular technique. So I'm enthusiastic. And again, the Eagles are paying more for him this year than the Niners are. So that's a good thing.
Pass rush win rate stats also kind of show that he was pretty good both in 22 and 24. It's just, he didn't fall into or run into as many sacks as he did in 23. But I think there's reason to believe that that Bryce Huff in this system can really dial up some pressure. I think it's, you got to have pass rush. I mean, the bottom line is you got to have pass rush. There's that old saying too. I mean, we saw Ravens, was it Ravens Chiefs AFC Championship game, not this year, but last year when they played it in Baltimore. And Kansas City went in there and won. Well, how did they win? Well, because you have to earn the right to rush the passer on 3rd down. And Kansas City just said, screw you. Here's Pacheco in the A-gaps behind our awesome interior offensive line, and we're going to get to 3rd and short, and we're going to run Mahomes, and I don't care if you got 19 pass rushers, Baltimore. We're not going to let you sack Mahomes and create all these negative plays because we're just going to stay out of pass rushing downs. So, I mean, if you don't stop the run, you can't earn the right to even rush the passer. So I agreed, even though I wasn't really sure exactly where the pass rush was coming from. I like the Niners' approach of stop the run first and then add some pass rushers. So I think that, stopping the run, if you don't stop the run, you're never going to rush the passer, or even if you have awesome pass rushers. So you're just never going to get to 3rd and long. So I like the idea.
2024 49ers defense.
Yeah.
Shady Luke says in 2023, Bryce Huff had a lot of sacks with 5 pass rushers if you watch the tape. Well, I would imagine there's going to be a lot of similar looks like that from the Niners this year on 3rd down. One of the things that stood out about Saleh before he left for the Jets was how often he brought pressure on 3rd down and how effective his pressures were. When he first became the Niners defensive coordinator, he was pure Seattle Seahawks vanilla. But by the time he left, he was still like that on 1st and 2nd down to a degree, but his 3rd down pressure package was really, really good. He felt confident with that because he had Jason Verrett and he could go man to man. And I think this year, Lenore is similar, and he's brought in guys like Stout and Nick Martin, who are big time blitzers. They're moving Lenore out because he's not a freaking blitzer. I think they want to have as many pass rush threats as possible. That's the new wave on defense with simulated pressures, what the Seahawks do. I think it's what the Niners are going to be able to do as well. It's going to help Huff and Bosa.
Yeah, I don't think there's any doubt about that. It used to be they were. I mean, Saleh talked about it a couple weeks ago. He's like, hey, when I first got here, we were, cover 3 and Seattle defense and never really blitz and then our pressure package changed, and basically everything about the defense has evolved since he was here last time, but he also has evolved. So it's a little bit of what's going to work, and I think you're going to see him be a lot different than he was first time around. I don't think you're going to recognize. I mean, if you're expecting to see Robert Saleh, the Niners play the kind of defense they did with Robert Saleh when he first was here, I don't think so. I think you're going to see much more of kind of a, an evolution of him, an evolution of them, and kind of a combination of like marrying the two evolutions together. I don't think you're going to see what you saw in 2019.
I have a feeling he's going to do a really good job this year. Now, he's going to have a lot of rookies, so maybe it won't be a top 5 defense, but I think by the end of the season, it might be playing like one, and he's going to be right back in the conversation for head coaching jobs next year. And I wonder if he assured the Niners before taking this job, like, hey, I'll do it for 2 years, or if he told them, like, look, you can get me, but there's no guarantee I'm going to even be here in 2026. So kind of interesting. They're really building the defense and the special teams in his image. And he could be gone in 6 months. It'd be interesting.
Well, it also kind of shows that, he obviously Robert Saleh is a pretty popular guy. I mean, Brant Boyer wanted to play for him. And, makes you wonder if some of the guys who came here, did they come here because of Saleh? Is he the reason that the Niners have gotten, guys like Bryce Huff and obviously the draft picks are the draft picks. You draft and you'll go wherever you go. But Robert Saleh is a very charismatic, defensive coordinator, and it seems like guys want to follow him, even to New York, believe it or not, when he was with the Jets.
It seems like he's pulling some strings. I can't account for it. Harold McAllister says $5 just for calling the trade, Larry. You were all over it.
Well, and I said it. All I said was, what? I think it makes sense that the Niners would call up the Jets for Bryce Huff because of the scheme fit. And my guess is that other teams probably offered like a 6th-round pick, but the Niners said, "Hey, Philly, if you're willing to pay a significant amount of money, we'll throw you one of our 3 4th-round picks." Yeah. And that because the Eagles, don't tell me the Eagles, gave the Niners Bryce Huff and somebody else also offered a same round pick. I bet you the Niners are offering one of those 3 4th-round picks, and I bet you the best offer they had was like a 6th. And so now they said, "Oh, you know what? We like the idea. We'll pay you a little bit of the money, and we'll buy ourselves a couple extra rounds in the draft." And I bet you Roseman did that.
It's incredible how quickly a player in the NFL can go from being worth $51 million to being worth a 6th-round pick. It's just incredible. There's no other league like it. I don't even know if that's a good thing or not. It just is what it is.
It's also time of year. It's like, that guy was, if you hold these players long enough, if you want to play chicken, like my guess is, Grant, that Howie Roseman played chicken with a bunch of GMs in the draft. Hey, I want a 3rd-round pick. And then let's just see if the phone rings in the 3rd round. And it didn't. Let's see if it rings in the 4th round. Oh, it didn't. I bet you it rang on day 3 in the 6th round. And he's like, we could probably do better than that. And then probably called up the Niners and said, "Hey, look, these guys are all smart." He knew, Howie Roseman knew that Bryce Huff had a monster year for Robert Saleh, and he knows Saleh's with the Niners. And I bet you he called and said, "Hey, how about you give us a 4th-round pick and we'll pay some of that money?" And the Niners were like, yeah, now we can actually get a player in his prime opposite Bosa that we like. And we got 3 4th-round picks in 26. Yeah, let's do that. Let's make that happen. So my guess is the Niners jumped the line probably by offering a pick that was 2 rounds earlier than everybody else, but Philly made it palatable by eating some of his 2025 contractual commitment.
All right, let's move on to OTAs. Starting back up on Wednesday. Went last week, and I didn't understand what the big story of OTAs would be, but I think it's pretty clear that it's Christian McCaffrey. And he's a little bit of a Rorschach test because he's coming back from injury. He's 29 years old, and everyone's question is he back? And it's hard to answer that question because we don't have GPS tracking systems. And what does back look like? It's all very subjective. I watched and I thought, no, he's not back. Barrows watched and thought, yes, he absolutely is back. So we got a wide range of opinions here. We're going to see another day on Wednesday. What are you looking for from Christian? How do we determine whether he's quote unquote back?
Yeah, it's a great question, right? Because, okay, so the word I used, because I watched it and then did a little recap for the YouTube audience, and the word I used was bouncy and explosive. I thought he bounced around the field and looked kind of explosive. Then I heard Lynch the next day on KMBR use those exact two words, bouncy and explosive, and I thought, well, either he listened to me or we both think alike. I hear what you're saying about that extra gear. But he also, to me, looked faster than I remembered him last year at any point. So, and it is May. So I personally, I think that I had two feelings about it. One, I thought he looked good. I thought he looked really good and really bouncy, really athletic for what we were seeing. It's the off season. I thought he looked really explosive. But my concern is still, I still have a lot of concerns about him because he is a guy coming off of Achilles tendonitis in both legs and a PCL injury. The PCL injury, I would imagine, was surgically repaired, but the tendonitis, didn't that just go away because he didn't play football? And isn't it just going to return as soon as he starts playing football?
Does it ever go away?
Yeah, I mean, does it ever go away? And are you really going to put all your eggs in the basket of a guy who had double Achilles that last year was quite serious and now is quieted down? I don't know. It seems to me like if you told me that 3 weeks from the start of camp, all of a sudden he's having Achilles issues in both legs again, I wouldn't be shocked at all. I'd be like, oh, okay, it makes perfect sense. So I thought he looked bouncy and explosive, but I also don't know how much you can really bank on him.
The thing about McCaffrey, which I admire, the way he practices hard. He did that in 2023 when we first saw him. It was his first training camp, and he did it the other day. He wasn't out there for OTAs in 2024, and he didn't practice much in training camp either. But he gives it like 100%. I thought he ran a Texas route in 7-on-7s, maybe it was 11-on-11s. That was just nasty. So I do feel like maybe he still has some quickness and he can still be a guy who catches 60, 70 passes in a season. But what I'm looking for is, they always finish their runs downfield because you're not getting tackled. You might get tagged, but you finish your run. You can see how Isaac Guerrero opens up his stride. That's a guy with 4.3 speed and it's effortless and he's cruising. And we've seen Christian McCaffrey in the same scenarios any number of times in his prime. And he wasn't as fast as Isaac Guerrero, but he did have a top gear that was way beyond Frank Gore and most running backs we've seen around here. And that's what I just want to see from him, like an effortlessness where he can snap his legs. And I felt in this last practice, maybe I'm overseeing things as a guy who ran track for 1 year, it looked like he was really straining to get a knee drive, to get himself to that last gear. And it just wasn't there. Maybe I'm wrong, but that's what I saw from my, non-expert view.
It's hard because we're getting glimpses, but I mean, I saw a guy that seemed like he was kind of bouncing along and moving pretty good.
I know what you mean. I saw that too.
It was kind of, so bouncy was the word I wanted to use when I saw him.
I like
but
that.
Also, I just thought he looked faster than I remember him last year. But yeah. I will say this, beyond McCaffrey at that running back spot, I didn't see Corey Kiner in this last practice. I didn't see Abanaconda if he was there. Only guys I saw were Patrick Taylor and McCaffrey and Guerrero and Juice. I don't remember seeing Jordan James much in this last practice. But I thought, to me, the guys that really opened my eyes, I was expecting with no Debo and with Ayuk out, not practicing, that the Niners would look really muted athletically. But to me, Guerrero, Cowing, and Watkins all made the 49ers look really more athletic than I anticipated them looking. Cowing especially I thought it looked fantastic, but I think Guerrero looked fantastic. I mean, you're talking about a big guy who can really, really motor. And the one thing he showed last year is he can catch the heck out of the football.
Yeah,
So I don't know how they're going to use him. But, man, I think Garendo, I think he could be a bust-out player, not just like a bust-out Niner. I think he could be a bust-out player around the NFL where people are talking about him. Because there aren't too many guys, Grant, that are 6'2", 6'1", 6'2", too close to 230 pounds that run in the legit 4.3s. And if anything, I thought he looked even faster this year than last year. I think Garendo, Cowing, and Watkins are the three guys to really circle, highlight, watch for how they utilize these guys, because the Niners have been slow. I mean, the Niners have been a really slow football team that has leaned on a lot of really slow players. Cowing never made any impact last year. Garendo only a slight impact, and Watkins wasn't on the team. This year, I think all three of those guys are going to contribute mightily. So I think that changes their look. You had three guys who can touch the football that all run in the 4.3s. You're going to notice the difference.
And that's so interesting too. Like, we'll find out where Christian McCaffrey's explosiveness is, because I think of like explosiveness for a running back sort of like as power for a hitter in baseball. And when McCaffrey was in his prime, he was a power hitter. He had home run power. If he doesn't anymore, his backup definitely does. So there's going to be a lot of pressure on McCaffrey to show that, because I saw the same thing. Garendo looked better than he did last year. He looked like he's in better shape. He looked more confident. He looked faster. And if he can just stay healthy, he could have a Raheem Mostert type of season, which means he could be, a freaking game changer for the 49ers. Yes.
Well, they need two things to think about too is that without, I would say without Debo and without Ayuk, who's not going to play for probably the first half of the year, I mean, the 49ers might be tempted to try to throw the ball to McCaffrey and throw the ball to Garendo. Garendo's running back instincts are horrible, but man, he caught 15 of 16 passes thrown his way last year. McCaffrey's tackle breaking and durability, I think, as a runner is more in question than if you could flex him out and use him as a receiver. So, McCaffrey is maybe screaming for more touches as a receiver. Garendo definitely you can throw the ball to him. So I'm eager to see, like, do we see a lot of Jordan James and the other backup running backs and maybe a little Garendo and McCaffrey flexed out and as receivers? Or do they, do we still see McCaffrey run the ball? Do they use Garendo more as a running back? And, let the Pearsalls, Jennings, Watkins, Cowing, Demarcus Robinson, let those guys all play receiver. I mean, the Niners have used McCaffrey as a receiver hardly at all. Hardly at all.
Yeah, and the thing that's interesting about Garendo as a receiver and like the running backs as receivers, it's like the way they pair with Purdy. Not to take like a backhanded compliment at Purdy or shot, but it's like we know his limitations, and we don't really see him throw the deep fades very often. He's hit some. When he throws deep, it's often the post over the middle or the wide receivers, the running backs on the rail route, on the wheel route. We saw him hit McCaffrey a couple of times late last season, and Garendo too. So I think that's a great way for Purdy to push the ball down the field. Throw the ball to your running back who runs a freaking 4.3. He's going to be wide open. There's no linebacker who can run with Garendo. It worked. That should be a bigger part of the offense next year. It'll help expand the field for Brock.
No question. And when I watched all of the Jordan Watkins highlights from Jackson Dart and his days at Mississippi, almost every pass it seemed like that I saw that Dart threw Watkins, he was running down the field. So, I mean, I think that's going to be interesting. Can the 49ers, a lot of their routes, it seems like, are coming back to the ball. And, this guy is a big play guy, but he's a big play guy. You have to get him the ball while he's running down the field. We'll see if Purdy can do that this year.
Michael McCann says, is there one more addition SF can make, players available in trades or free agents, that would put this team legitimately in Super Bowl conversation?
Well, there's no offensive lineman. So
no, that's the problem with that position.
That's the problem there. I mean, there is no offensive lineman. Whatever they got now, that's what they're going to have. That's it. Yeah, I mean, there might be somebody at a cut down, but what you're looking at, I mean, the starters are going to be Trent and Barch and Brendel and Pooney and McKivitz, and the backups are going to be Burford and Hennessy and Pleasance and Zakel and maybe Connor Colby.
What about a running back like Bryce Hall? Just to hedge your bets.
Of people. It's funny. A bunch of people. Your audience is so vast. When did you started talking about this week? Because
like 2 days ago, maybe 2 days ago. Yeah,
I have literally been.
As long as the Niners are bringing in all the Jets, like why not?
Yeah. Why not? Yeah. I mean, first of all, it makes a lot of sense. One, let's talk about all the reasons it makes a lot of sense. It makes a lot of sense because, Bryce Hall was drafted there while Robert Saleh was there. So I think Robert Saleh probably had a hand in Bryce Hall being drafted. 2, he's an Iowa State guy, which obviously, the connection with Purdy. 3, he's a guy who runs in the 4.3s, or at least did, and the Niners seem to really like speed from their running back, so he would fit. I don't know that the Jets want to move him. I mean, they have Braylon Allen, they have Isaiah Davis, they drafted Donovan Edwards from Michigan, so they have a couple other guys, but he's still their number 1 starting running back, and my guess is he's not going to be dealt. I like that name. I don't know that they need him. The guy that I think is definitely could be a Niner is Malachi Corley, just from the standpoint that Robert Saleh traded up in the 3rd round for this guy going into last year's draft. He only had 6 targets. They now have so many other receivers there that I think Corley probably doesn't make the team. I mean, they have Garrett Wilson, Josh Reynolds, Alan Lazard, Tyler Johnson, Arian Smith, Xavier Gibson, Jamal Pritchett. That's 7. They're probably going to go with 5, and Corley would be number 8. So I think Corley could get cut. If they cut him, yeah, definitely sign him. And if you could get him for like a day 3 pick, I think I would do that as well. A lot of receivers take a year. And I asked Shanahan about it the other day. I said, why do receivers take a year? And he's like, he gave me a long answer, but what he basically could have said was the complexities of pro football compared to college for a receiver are night and day. And so it takes receivers, for every Randy Moss, who was great as a rookie, there's 20 guys, including Jerry Rice, who struggled as rookies. So Corley would be a rookie that struggled. And yeah, if I could get him, I don't even know that he would make the Niners. So I wouldn't want to trade anything good. But if I could get him for a 6th-round pick or a 7th-round pick or nothing because they cut him loose and Robert Saleh wants him, I would definitely sign him because he's got some heft. He's got some running back skills. He's got some receiver skills. I think he'll be better after a year in an NFL offense. I think he might replace Debo and give you a lot of the same elements. So, yeah, if I can get one more Jet, I would take Malachi Corley. If I could get one more player, I would either want a receiver or if I could get like an Asante Samuel Jr., like a aggressive corner who I could plug in. Those are the 2 spots for me.
The one thing with Bryce Hall, he looked like he was going to be an incredible player as a rookie. Tore his ACL, hasn't quite been the same since. Shady Luke says, I don't like the Niners, haha, but I love, this is the resident Eagles fan on my channel. I don't like the Niners, haha, but I love CMC. You heard me say it, Grant. I hope Shanahan saves CMC from himself. It feels like the Niners keep being like, we can't get him off the field. He's very insistent. Like, will someone step up to CMC and be like, dude, it's for your own good. You got to come off the field sometimes.
Yeah. Or, hey, how about this? CMC, we love you, but you just work here, all right?
Yeah.
And how about this? You come off the field when we tell you to come off the field, and it's admirable that he wants to be on the field, but there's, Bobby T and Kyle need to make that call, and if they need to say CMC sit the fuck down, then they need to say it. And I'd like to see them be a little bit more heavy with their players and not be so player friendly. I mean, I know you love Juszczyk, but you know what? You're the coach. I know you love Kittle. I know you love CMC. I know you love Trent. You're the coach. You decide and you lay down the law.
El Cortez says Garendo RB15 save CMC for playoffs. I'm currently in the middle of a dynasty football draft where we get 4 hours to make every pick. So it's going to take a month and a half. But I'm starting to think about CMC's already off the board. Can't believe he went 2nd round. Seems like a big risk. But Garendo is interesting in the dynasty. Like he's in a great system. He fits it. He could really produce big numbers when CMC goes down. Only problem is he gets hurt too.
The thing about Garendo, though, is that the ball skills that he showed, his ability last year to catch the ball was so freaking amazing that if they don't throw him 50 balls this year, they're crazy. I mean, they threw him 16, he caught 15. That's a great percentage, man. That shows he's got ridiculous hands, and we all know he's got ridiculous speed. So he doesn't have great running back instincts, and you can kind of see that. He runs up the back of his lineman, and he picks the wrong hole, and he doesn't kind of press the play long enough, and he doesn't, you know what I mean? There's certain elements.
He can learn it. I mean, Mostert was a freaking special teams guy who learned it.
Right. He can learn it. Not only that, this guy is so, I mean, watching him move on the practice field, he stands out. He really stands out. I mean, you're talking about there's big, there's fast, and then there's this guy.
Big and
this
fast.
This guy is so fast. I mean, it's you don't see it, you feel like you're watching like a Ferrari on a field with a bunch of Tauruses.
Yeah, it's so easy for him to get to that top speed. It's like breathing. And again, for a guy who lacks instincts and was a rookie, averaged 5 yards a carry last year. So he could be even better. I mean, he will be even better this year, I would imagine.
He should. He should really take off because what he has, they can't teach.
Yep. Michael McCann, would Ayuk and a first or second land Hall and Wilson? Just get the whole team over here, man. Wilson, Quinn and Williams, Sauce Gardner,
Corley, yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
all of them.
Dude, I mean, if I could get Garrett Wilson, I would absolutely move Ayuk in a pick. Ayuk in a second for Garrett Wilson alone, I would do it. I'm a heartbeat.
Okay, let's talk Garrett Wilson. Well, in a sense, yeah, the Niners could go get Garrett Wilson. They could go get Amari Cooper. The problem is that Ricky Pearsall hurt his hamstring again, hurt it last offseason in training camp. So he won't be out there this week. In his absence, who are you eager to see? We've seen a little bit last week. Who do you think is going to make the most of this opportunity and step up while he's out?
I really think both Cowing and Watkins are going to be really, really solid. Jacob Cowing, I was a big fan of his last year. And he just didn't do anything. He fell down when he tried to run. He just didn't have enough strength in his legs, and he needed that redshirt year. But man, if you go back and watch him in college, this guy was great at UTEP, and he was great at Arizona. I mean, he really was. So this is not just some fast guy who can't play. This guy absolutely can play. Now, he needed to get stronger. He did get a little stronger. I thought he was the guy at the minicamp that made me go, wow. If Jacob Cowing can be a vertical threat for this team, because I think Jordan Watkins can be as well, they suddenly go from a slowish wide receiver core to having two guys in the 4.3s. So I'm very intrigued by the speed. Watkins, Cowing, Nair, the undrafted guy, Garendo as a runner. I think they've added some significant speed to their offense.
The one who intrigues me the most, and I think is going to make the most of this opportunity, is Watkins. This was my least favorite of the draft picks. Because when they made it, I'm like, oh, come on, a wide receiver ahead of an offensive lineman. But then when I step back, I'm like, yeah, but it's the position Kyle knows the best. So if there's one you can't get wrong, well, like let Kyle pick a wide receiver, and you see him up front, and it's like, yeah, I think I see what he saw. And no offense to Jacob Cowing, but Jordan Watkins is at least as fast as him and way bigger. I think he's not Isaiah Naylor,
like
but
25 pounds heavier.
Way bigger. Like it's not, and like Jacob Cowing can't grow. It's not going to happen for him. So I just thought it was interesting. They put him in with the starters in 7-on-7. He got a rep against Bernardo Green. It was probably quarters. He ran a post touchdown. I'm like, okay, I've been covering this team for 15 years. I can probably count on one hand the number of rookies who did that in a practice. So it doesn't mean he's going to start week 1, but I'm officially watching this guy. I'm very intrigued with Jordan Watkins.
I love him. I mean, first of all, there were only 3 players that the Niners drafted that I actually, in my mock drafts leading into the whole thing, that I actually had them drafting. One was Nick Martin, one was CJ West, and the third was this guy, Jordan Watkins. And, I just happened to be sitting on the couch watching Ole Miss Arkansas the day he went off. And so I saw that 5 touchdown, 250-yard, performance live. And, this guy's big time. I mean, to me, he's got a lot of the traits you're looking for. First of all, he's got 4.37 speed.
Yep.
The Niners like everything about him. He's a really, really smart kid. You can't really see that through the helmet, but he's a very smart kid. Lane Kiffin, more so than almost any coach in college football, emphasizes blocking from his receivers. So this guy's a ready-made player. He's a blocker. He's explosive. He's a game breaker. He can play the slot. He can play outside. He will fight for the ball in the air. He tracks the deep ball really well. He averaged 18.5 yards per catch. I mean, that's a huge fat number.
It's big time.
And then he's a downfield threat. He's a downfield threat. He's got excellent acceleration. He's a punt returner. He had a 69-yard punt return touchdown last year.
He's got running back legs.
Running back build, 200 pounds, breaks tackles, runs through arm tackles. He only had 6 drops in 4 years of college at Louisville and Ole Miss. 6 drops in 60 career games, 42 starts. I mean, that's really good. He was the only FBS wide receiver last year with 5 catches of 60+ yards or more. This guy's an assassin. I mean, he really is. He's a guy who makes plays down the field. 6 touchdowns last year alone. I mean, this guy's a big play guy. So to me, it's like there's speed and route running, and then like production. And if you have speed, route running, and production, you're going to be pretty damn good. And this guy's got it. This guy's got 4.37 speed. He was a productive receiver. The quality of competition, he did it in the SEC against the best corners and safeties in the nation. I think this guy's a really, really good player. Shanahan obviously loved this guy. A lot of people felt like they reached for him. But to me, I only liked about 3 or 4 receivers after the first round. I liked, that was it. And he was one of them. So I really like him. I think Cowing and Watkins are going to make the Niner. I mean, I know this sounds crazy, but Cowing and Watkins, in my opinion, are going to make the Niner fans forget Debo and Ayuk. I know that sounds crazy because Debo and Ayuk are such big names. Ayuk was a first-round pick. Debo was a second-round pick. We're talking about 2 fourth-round picks. But I really believe these guys are the kinds of receivers that they're not just runners. They're playmakers.
When the Niners drafted Watkins, the first thing that came to my head was Dante Pettis. But when I see him in person, I'm thinking, no, now I'm kind of comparing you to Ayuk. I mean, he's about the same size as Ayuk. He's faster than Ayuk. He might be more of a downfield threat post-knee injury than Ayuk. And he doesn't have Ayuk's length, but I never really felt that Ayuk used his length. He's not a contested catch guy. He's a route runner separation guy. So I'm very intrigued with Jordan Watkins, and I feel like in this system, in this scheme, he could be a starting X. And if Ayuk isn't out there week 1, if Demarcus Robinson isn't out there week 1, and if Pearsall's been in and out with injuries, I wouldn't be surprised if the starters were Juwan Jennings and Jordan Watkins week 1.
Which is really saying something because rookie receivers don't often, make an impact. But
Only Ayuk really did that. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I think this guy's ready-made. I mean, on a team that had Trey Harris and Juice Wells, this guy stood out. Out. He absolutely did. I think it's going to be interesting to see exactly, how this receiving core comes together because, I mean, is Pearsall injury prone? He claims he's not, but he has been thus far. And what's Demarcus Robinson? Is he going to get suspended for 3 games? How does that impact things?
He's not explosive.
Does Junior Bergen make this team as the return guy?
Probably for some reason. Junior.
So I do think Jordan Watkins.
I don't see why he should. I feel like just make Jordan Watkins the punt returner. He's explosive.
Yeah. And then there's Isaiah Nair, who's just so big and so fast, and I'm really eager to see what he looks like as well. But 49ers have lacked speed. They've lacked speed on the perimeter, and now at least they've got a couple guys in Watkins and Cowing that legitimately can run. And what does this look like? Brock Purdy, one of the elements of the Niners season last year where they were the worst in all of football is separation. Their wide receiver separation, they were 32nd in the NFL. So Brock Purdy is throwing, 50-50 balls way more than he ever should because he's got to throw 50-50 balls to get the balls to his receivers because they don't separate. So now you got two guys who can really, really run. And I think we'll find out if Watkins and Cowing can get themselves in the clear. Can Brock hit him? And if he can, it's going to be touchdown city. I mean, he's going to, because those guys create separation, and the Niner receivers, for the most part, have not.
And what's nice about the way the Niners are configured is like, if from a defensive perspective, on a pass play, you're trying to stop Kittle, Jennings, and McCaffrey. You got three guys you got to worry about. So if the fourth and fifth options run 4-3s, then if you forget about them for one play, it could be a touchdown. Like, that's sort of the potential that Jacob Cowing and Jordan Watkins present. And that's why I think it's great to have Juszczyk out there, but you got to mix up other personnel groupings because you could have someone so much more explosive as a fourth or fifth option scoring touchdowns from far out, because it's not like you're scoring touchdowns in the red zone anymore unless McCaffrey's a great player. We got prize pick time now.
Would it have killed the Niners? Would it have killed the Niners to just get rid of Juszczyk and give Guerrero the fullback job? I mean, we call it fullback, but that's not. I mean, Tom Rathman wore 44 and was the fullback. Kyle Juszczyk wears 44 and is the fullback. They're both Caucasian. That's where the similarities end. That's it.
Juszczyk isn't a fullback. He doesn't run the ball. He's like an H-back who lines up at fullback.
Rathman was a hammer blocker. He was a big-time blocker. Juszczyk is rarely as a lead blocker. They rarely, if ever, use him that way. They flip him the ball. He's, occasional gadget play guy. He's not really utilized the way Rathman was utilized. So it's like, could Guerrero play fullback? Well, he's not 240. He's more like 225.
Roger Craig played fullback for the Niners.
Right. Roger Craig played fullback. Heck, we've seen smaller guys play fullback. Terry Kirby might have played some fullback for the Niners at different times. I mean, all I'm saying is if you have Guerrero and that speed and you line him up as a fullback and he draws some middle linebacker in coverage, I mean, that's a touchdown. That's a touchdown. So
you just want to get your best players on the field. And you see the Commanders do that. They'll get Brian Thomas and Austin Eckler on the field at the same time. Like, you'd like to see Kyle be a little bit more creative to get his best players on the field, because Juszczyk is useful sometimes in certain situations, but not as much as they use him.
And Guerrero, by comparison, could be a game breaker. I mean, could you imagine if you got Guerrero isolated on a linebacker? I mean, he's flushing that guy and he's taking it to the house.
You'd like to see him do it more. Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right, let's play some prize picks intriguing. More or less. We got NBA playoffs Thursday.
Yeah.
Thursday.
Game one.
Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, let's start with him. Do you want to go to points or do you want to do free throws?
Let's go points. What's you got for points?
33.5 points, more or less. 33.5.
The NBA Finals. It's his first game in the Finals. I'm going to say he's a little nervous. I'll say less.
That's a savvy veteran pick. I like that. I agree with it. What about his counterpart, Tyrese Halliburton? Not as much of a scorer, 17.5 points, or we could do assists, 9.
I like 17.5 points over for Halliburton.
More.
Yeah, more points for Halliburton.
No, that ain't it.
Halliburton's has had a couple games where he looks really uncomfortable in the fourth quarter, but you know what? Overall, he means so much more to their offense than I've realized in the last series. So I would say Halliburton goes for 20 in game one. Okay,
Pascal Siakam, 19.5, more or less.
I like him more. I think Siakam is, especially in game one, since he's the guy that has a ring and has been to the finals, I think they'll lean on him because there'll be some nerves from some of the other guys. And I think Siakam puts up a few more shots and thus goes more.
Jalen Williams, 22.5 points, more or less.
That's a Santa Clara kid. There's 2 Jalen Williams, so I'll say this too. If you're doing this on PrizePicks, make sure you get the right Jalen Williams. Jalen, not Jaylin, because there's
Correct.
two of them. But Jalen Williams, I like him. I think he's going to be kind of a surprise for game one. I like him more than 22.5 points.
Love it. Love it. Let's do one more and call it, let's say, Chet Holmgren, 16.5.
Is that points or rebounds?
Points, more or less. Chet Holmgren, 16.5.
Ooh.
Rebounds is at 9.5.
Yeah, I'd rather go rebounds. Give me Chet over 9.5 rebounds.
Chet more than 9.5 rebounds.
More than 9.5 rebounds. Chet to get 10 or more.
Wow. Okay, I like that. That's a bold one. Let's whoop. There it is. There's the lineup. Gilgeous, Halliburton, Siakam, Jalen Williams, Chet Holmgren. We're gonna flex it. We're going to submit it.
So we how many do we have to hit out of 5? 3?
We gotta hit 4.
I guess, yeah.
We gotta hit 4.
No, it looks like we can. If we hit 5 of 5, we win 200. If we hit 4 out of 5, we win 40. If we hit 5 out of 5,
3, we win something with the flex play.
Or 3 out of 5.
So that's nice. They give you options over at PrizePicks. Download the app, use promo code Cohn, play 5, win 5 instantly. All right, I got another question for you. Well, I got a stat for you. Saw this in CBS.com, and I wanted to run it by you and see what you made of it. So Brock Purdy, in close games, this is what they wrote. He has 9 touchdown passes and 15 picks in his career when tied or trailing in the second half and overtime, regular season and postseason, compared with 61 touchdown passes and 13 picks in all other situations. That amounts to the worst touchdown to interception ratio and highest interception rate among 28 quarterbacks with 200 plus attempts in those late close situations since he entered the league in 2022. Dead last. In addition, Purdy finished the season with a whimper. He made crippling turnovers in the clutch in each of his final 3 games of the season. He was actually the first player in 18 years with an interception in 3 straight games on potential game-tying or go-ahead drives in the fourth quarter or overtime. That was against the Rams, the Dolphins, and the Lions. Do those numbers concern you?
I mean, absolutely they do. Here's what I see on those numbers. One, some guys are like David Carr or Derek Carr, where they just, it doesn't, even if they're behind, they might throw the ball out of bounds because they didn't have anything they liked down the field. Brock Purdy's not that guy. Brock Purdy wants to win, and he's all about winning. So he's going to put the ball in harm's way in the fourth quarter if he has to, because he's not going down, throwing the ball into the turf and punting and jogging off.
He's got a little Philip Rivers in him.
He's going to try to make a play. He's going to try to make a play. So that combination of he's going to try to make a play with they were behind a lot last year, and they were 32nd in the NFL in separation, meaning their receivers are just glued to the defenders. It just makes any pass that he throws in the second half, especially with no play action, potentially a pick. So I think this is something we're going to see. We saw it at Iowa State, and we've seen it thus far, and we're going to continue to see it. When Brock Purdy wins games, he's going to give you that vibe of, wow, look at this guy. This guy could beat anybody on any day. He's going to give you that great feeling. But then when the 49ers lose games, he's going to have late in the game turnovers. We're going to point the finger at him, and we're going to wonder aloud every time if he's the guy. So I do believe that it's not a good thing to a degree, because turnovers are never good, right? But on another hand, I do like the fact that this guy's in the game to try to win it, not just lose in a comfortable fashion. He's out there to win, and if he's not going to win, he's not worried about throwing a fourth quarter interception or 2. I think, Grant, as the Niners add some better speed, and we've already talked about it a little bit in this, Cowing and Garendo and Watkins and some of these guys who actually are a little faster, I think there'll be more separation. I think that means there'll be fewer turnovers. But, yeah, Brock has got to stop putting the ball in harm's way in big moments. And I think this is also a little bit tied to Shanahan, is that Shanahan's offense, when they fall behind, it's like they don't have any answers. It's like they have to play at all times ahead or even. If they fall behind, he gets very impatient. If they fall behind inside of a game, he'll eliminate the run and just go pass, and then if they get a quick score, then he'll go back to the run game. But until they get that quick score and get back even, it's pass. So I just sense an impatience from Kyle. Also, I'm not sure if his game works as well without the play action elements. He voluntarily took away a lot of the play action elements a year ago. But I think the lack of separation and Brock's desire to try to compete and win every game is going to lead him down this road in the future again. I think this is going to be a consistent theme throughout his career. When they lose, he throws late in the game turnovers that make it look like he is the reason they lost. And he might be part of the reason they lose.
I mean, that interception he threw at the end of the Rams game with the season on the line was just horrendous. It was one of the worst I've ever seen from him. But usually when he throws the pick that loses the game, it was very similar to Jimmy. It's the like fourth quarter under pressure, throwing to a spot over the middle picked off. We saw Jimmy do it a lot. We've seen Brock do it a lot. And it's like, how much of that is the quarterback? How much of that is what Kyle's asking them to do? And how much of that is the offensive line? Like if they weren't under pressure and they weren't being, encouraged to throw to specific spots over the middle by their head coach, maybe they don't just blindly get picked by the linebacker or the free safety the way that they like when they throw those picks. It's like, dude, how did you not see that? So, but it's been quarterback after quarterback in the Niners system. I feel like there are other factors here that aren't just them. It's the offensive line. It's Kyle. If they would just have a little bit more time to throw, I don't think he would make those, heroic, blind, not, crazy throws.
I mean, I thought Garoppolo was maybe one of the worst late in the down quarterbacks I've ever seen. You called the play, and if he executed the play, it was almost always a positive. If he didn't execute the play, but then checked down to something else quickly, then it was also could be a positive. But if he held the ball late in the down, it was like, oh my God, what's coming next?
We're all just holding our breath. Dripping off of him.
Yeah, I mean, so he was a horrible late in the down thrower. Purdy is a little bit better because of his mobility and his overall vision and understanding of the defense and where the voids are in the defense, where the defenders should be. But once he's late over the middle like that, he doesn't have enough juice on the fastball to get away with it. Like Brett Favre could get away with late over the middle because he's throwing a rocket ricochet shot, and it's like, but if you throw a catchable ball and you're late over the middle, it's also catchable for the defense. So you can't be late over the middle. Brock's going to have to, it's about mental reps. It's about separation. It's about being smart with the football. And also it's about, I mean, you heard him when I asked him about it. I said, what did you need to work on this offseason? And he's like, man, I got to get back to my rookie year where I just worried about taking my drop, knowing the play, reading it out, having the proper footwork, and just getting the ball out of my hand as quickly as possible to my guy, and that's it. And instead, last year he held the ball, trying to let his guys free themselves up, trying to let the play happen, trying to run a little bit more to give himself more time, and he made some plays, but as the more he ran, Grant, and to me, the line of demarcation was that Week 7 Kansas City game. From when Spags sped him up for the rest of the year, he made bad decisions. And so that's what happens late in the down. If you get a little, in your head, you start making bad decisions. And I think he's going to be more cognizant this year of playing on time and getting the ball out faster.
To me, there's like two spectrums of young mobile quarterbacks. There's like the Jaden Daniels type and the Caleb Williams type. And the Jaden Daniels type, what I think what everyone likes about him is how decisive he is. He's not really a playmaker. He's a point guard. He gets the ball out of his hands quickly. And when he decides to run, he does it. And he gets out of bounds. He gets 8 yards. Like, he doesn't have all these like, oh, he's rolling left. Oh, he's reversing field. He's held the ball for 8 seconds. Like, that's not Jaden Daniels. That's Caleb Williams. And I think what kind of stunk about last season from Brock is that's what kind of Brock turned into. And I think that's what he was talking about. Like, when I first got in the league, I was the point guard. I was the decisive one. I was Jaden Daniels. And maybe he's tried to prove that he's more than that. But if he could just be decisive, get the ball out of your hands quickly, and when it's not there, scramble. Don't hold the ball for 15 seconds and try to get it down the field. I mean, he's a really good scrambler too. He could do more of that.
Yeah. No, there's no. I think all those points are on point. I mean, and you saw it. And the nice thing about Brock is he doesn't run from it. He will kind of tell you, man, this is what I was doing. This is what I was doing, and this is why it wasn't working. And what I saw too was just that when he got sped up a few times by the better teams, his decision making started not being nearly as good. And part of his value proposition, he's not the biggest guy with the biggest arm. Part of his value proposition is he's accurate, he plays on time, and he makes good decisions.
Yep.
And that all falls apart if you're making bad decisions. And if you're holding the ball, out of 10 dropbacks, maybe his rookie year, maybe he held the ball once out of 10. This last year, he probably held the ball 4 times out of 10, and maybe twice out of 10 he made a real nice play, but twice out of 10 he turned the ball over. So those turnovers will absolutely kill you, and what they would prevent you from doing is just winning. And the play that you mentioned before on the Jennings ball, that ball cannot be thrown. And when I asked Shanahan about it, he defended Brock, and that's fine because you're going to defend your guy in the media. That's fine. But don't tell me that was the right play. All of the defenders were taking away the deep passes. Brock didn't even see the defender with Jennings because he had a defender in his face. All 3 of the defenders underneath were open with defenders behind them. They were easy checkdowns. It wasn't third down. It wasn't the end of the game. It was first down. There was plenty of time left. It was classic over aggressive quarterback play. And I wish sometimes in those situations Shanahan would own it or make Brock own it, but he, obviously he wants to defend Brock against the big bad media criticism. But I thought the criticism was just and fair.
Yeah, and I think that's, what Brock's critics are going to point to and say, like, look, we like Brock, good guy, good story, but the lore of his decision-making and processing, it's still something to be, the jury's still out on that, because when you have all those all-pros around you, when you have McCaffrey and Ayuk and Debo and Kittle, you're going to look like a good decision maker. There's a lot of people who are open. When you take McCaffrey out and Ayuk out, and all of a sudden you're waiting on Jawan Jennings to get open or deciding whether you want to throw him another 50-50 ball, how good of a decision maker are you? So that's what I think we need to see from him. And now that he's making all this money, perception is reality. You're supposed to be the guy who comes through in close games. So no excuses, really. Even if it's not 100% your fault, and if it's on the offensive line and the receivers and Kyle, ultimately it's probably going to go at your feet.
Yeah. Look, he was a great bargain, and now he's being paid like a top tier guy. And along with that come expectations that you're going to consistently deliver a top tier caliber performance. And if he does, he'll be lauded for it. And if he doesn't, he'll be criticized. And I think everybody understands that. Brock, Shanahan, the players, the fans, the media, I think everybody gets it. And, the one thing about Brock is that he's not going to run from it. He's not going to be like, hey, man, it's not me. It's not me. He's going to blame himself first. If Shanahan had a little bit more of that, I think it would be good for Shanahan.
Yeah, I agree. Good point. One thing I want to say before we move on is Niner fans, the way they think of Jordan Love is, I think, the way these numbers paint Brock Purdy. Like when Niner fans think of Jordan Love, they're like, yeah, I don't care what he's done in the regular season. I've seen him in the playoffs. I've seen him with the game on the line. I don't trust him. And these numbers sort of paint the same picture about Brock, but we saw him against the Packers in the playoffs. We saw him against the Lions in the playoffs. He was money in the second half in close games down. So maybe there's something there. Maybe this is just a small sample size. Maybe it's Kyle. I don't know, but it's definitely something he's got to prove.
Well, there's no question that, Brock showed up big time in the playoffs against Detroit and Green Bay in the second half, so he played well in those games. He played well in the Super Bowl. He walked off the field twice late as a Super Bowl winner. Their defense couldn't, the Niners make their name on defense, and they couldn't get a defensive stop against Mahomes, and thus they lost the game. But I think Brock won over a lot of people there. And I think he's good enough to get it done. We're going to find out, but he's not going to, he's definitely not the kind of player. There's 3 or 4 players that can just say, hey, jump aboard, I'm going to carry you. And only a couple of those guys like Burrow and Allen, I think, are like that, but they haven't won rings. So it's just a matter of, can the 49ers surround, while paying him what they're paying him, can they surround him with enough talent to win a championship? And we don't know the answer to that yet, but I'm hoping the answer is yes. But we're going to find out. We're going to find out. I mean, they couldn't surround him with enough talent to get it done when he wasn't making a lot of money. And now that he is making a lot of money, by definition, it's going to be more difficult. But it doesn't mean it can't be done. So we'll see if it can be done. Philly's done it, and we'll see if the Niners can do it.
They just gave him such a huge vote of confidence. I've never seen, maybe someone can point out a different example, but I've never seen a quarterback get this kind of an extension after a 6-win season. And I'm not saying he didn't deserve it. It's the market. But the owners felt he definitely deserved it. I don't know if Kyle did. I mean, Kyle didn't get an extension. That's all I know. Brock got an extension. Kyle didn't. So it's a very interesting setup right now. And if Brock doesn't tear it up this year, I wonder if the Yorks blame him or the coach. We'll have to see. Michael McCann says they didn't want to pay Wilson last year, and with Rodgers gone, they definitely don't want to pay what he will want this year. With the Jets, I guess. Lee A says, how is Sebastian Valdez doing? Is he going to make the roster?
He's interesting. He's a guy that played at Washington this last year and had enormous strength, right? Like 34 reps at 225. And you can see that play strength. And he's actually got kind of interesting athleticism. I mean, he had like a top 10, 10-yard split. I think he had a like top 2 or top 5 20-yard shuttle. So he had some good movement, tests in addition to the strength test. We'll see. I mean, I'll say this. I mean, 49ers usually go 10 defensive linemen, 5 tackles, 5 ends. So C.J. West, Alfred Collins, Kevin Givens, Jordan Elliott, that's 4. Kalia Davis, Evan Anderson, that's 6. Sebastian Valdez would be 7. So, I mean, if he could beat out a couple guys, could Sebastian Valdez beat out Kalia Davis and one other guy? Or could there be one injury and he beats out one guy? Yeah. So, I mean, Valdez is very interesting. And definitely, you're talking about 6'4", 300 pounds, but a guy who lined up a defensive end for Washington from time to time. So very intriguing guy for sure. I didn't know anything about him. Actually, the first time I watched him, you did a video on him, Grant, right after the draft. I saw your video, and then I started watching film on the guy, and then made my own video on Valdez. And I do think he's got a shot to make the team. I don't think he's a star, but he's definitely he's a high motor 300 pounder who can move.
Lee A says, got you already. Resilient motto for $1. Thank you. Blood Moon says, what about the UDFA Megatron dude who was fast? Isaiah Nayor, we're definitely watching for him. He's definitely one of the players to watch. I just felt that Jordan Watkins was the guy who sort of grabbed the attention of everyone at the first day of OTAs. Joseph,
and they're both very fast. I mean, I'll say this about Nayor. He's 4'4" flat. And he's 6'4", 220 with 35-inch arms and a 40-inch vertical. That alone makes you want to see the guy. But, we'll see.
No doubt. Joseph for real says there are player-friendly coaches and there is immature, passive, pussyfoot leadership. That was Kyle and the gang. So they got Saleh, Brock, chill, and watch. Well, we'll see if Saleh's more of a hard ass. I don't know.
I don't know if he is or not.
It's weird to see like Brian Schottenheimer. He seems so milquetoast, and his dad was freaking Marty Schottenheimer. It's like, I don't see how that happened.
The other thing that always makes me laugh is that there's a lot of people walking around talking about, teams that are going to bust out. And some people think Dallas. And I was like, dude, I do not see that at all. I do not see. I mean, Dallas didn't have any run game last year to speak of. And then what do they do? I mean, what exactly did they add? Javonte Williams after a major knee injury. Miles Sanders is old as hell. Jaden Blue is a fast little guy from Texas, but he's not a star runner. So they still don't really have much of a running game. So I
think losing Dan
Dallas.
Quinn was huge for them. I think he was the reason they were winning games, and now he's gone. Yeah, Dan Quinn's a good coach.
Eberflus is their new DC.
Oh.
And you know who their new special teams coach is?
Oh, Schneider. Are you kidding?
Sorensen.
No, it's not.
Sorensen.
It's Sorensen, even worse.
Sorensen.
Schneider's with Washington.
Yeah, Schneider, but Schneider's the assistant.
Okay, good to know. Sorensen. God. Anyway, it's 3:18 on the West Coast. Larry, thank you very much. Again, the two of us will be at the facility the next 2 days. Tomorrow is there's like 2 days a year we get to interview the position coaches. So we'll talk to Mick Lombardi. We'll talk to Chris Kasarik. It's fun. And then Wednesday practice. It's a lot of fun. Now, of course, we're not allowed to post more than 90 seconds.
But we can talk about it.
We'll talk about it. Stay tuned. Larry, I'll see you tomorrow.
Yeah,
Brazilian Motto says, where do you go to see how long you have been a member? I don't know. It'll tell you. It'll tell you. Don't worry. Don't call us. We'll call you. Brazilian Motto, thank you. Take care.